Similar to chiropractic, everyone always has one of those yoga saved my life stories. And I read on your website, yours was around 2007 or so. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
I'd always done different kinds of exercise over the years, from like aerobics to jogging, this and that, but I
Yeah,
hadn't really done yoga. I'd heard about it, I'd read about it, and I found myself in kind of like a bad time, well, really bad time in my life,
sure.
deaths in the family, health wasn't great, relationship status was pretty dreadful. And somehow I picked up a card actually one day, and it was for, at the time, Bikram Yoga Atlanta. And
Okay.
so I went to class. I didn't know what to expect. And I just kind of left feeling like, okay, I just need to keep doing this. And over the months that followed, I just started feeling so much stronger, physically, but also mentally and emotionally. Like it
Sure.
really, and again, I didn't have the expectation or the understanding of exactly what was happening,
Yeah.
but I just knew that it was kind of pulling me out of a really difficult time and giving me strength and tools to like get through it.
That's amazing. And you
Yeah,
didn't really know what you were getting into at the beginning. You were just kind of like, I like this. I like the results I'm seeing, and let's keep doing this.
exactly.
Very nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. What inspired you to open your own studio?
So actually, I practiced at this studio,
Yeah,
and I loved it so much that I had made up my mind if they ever did a teacher training,
sure.
I wanted to be in it. And
Nice.
sure enough, I guess about 3 years later, they announced a teacher training. So I did it. I got accepted. And so
Amazing.
I started teaching. So this was in 2010.
Okay.
And so I began teaching, which I absolutely loved. And then in 2017, the owners decided they had owned it for like 16 years.
Okay.
They decided they were done. They wanted to kind of move on, do other things. And they asked me and my partner, Suzanne,
Yeah.
if we wanted to buy it and keep it going. And we said yes. Now, we both have other careers. And, so it wasn't, we had other things going on, but
Sure.
we wanted it and we didn't want it to go away. And so we were very fortunate to, we basically took over this existing business. And
Got
so
it.
we were in the same location. We have a new landlord that we did before, but we've been really lucky with this, to carry that forward. So we didn't have to start from scratch, basically.
Sure. And was it in the location it is today?
It
Right
is.
there? Very
Yes.
nice. So you
Yeah,
just kind of picked it up and continued the growth.
exactly.
Awesome. Very nice. What a cool story. And did you know Suzanne prior?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we met in teacher training, actually.
Okay. And then you guys decided.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Love it.
All about the yoga.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you touched on this a little bit earlier. Obviously, people, when they think of yoga, they think of the physical benefits a lot. So strengthening your core, loosening up your hips, opening up your upper back. I could go on forever. But the mental aspect is a lot of things that people either don't know, maybe they heard about. For me personally, that's one of the things that draws me to yoga. It's my quiet time. I can clear my head. So I was wondering if you could just kind of elaborate on some more about the mental benefits of yoga.
We call it a moving meditation,
Yeah.
right? So you're doing the postures, you're bringing your awareness to your body and your breath.
Hmm.
And so it's a great way to get you out of your head and into your body more.
Sure.
And so it's very hard to think about anything when you're in a lot of these postures because they're very challenging.
They are, surprisingly. They look easy when you see them, and then you're in them, and your arms are shaking. So yes,
Yeah.
most definitely.
So it definitely helps your mind clear. The yoga we do, we don't have music in the room. We have a big wall of mirror. You're looking at yourself in a mirror,
Yeah.
for most of the class. So you kind of get that focus on yourself, and again, your body, your breath. You get that sort of connection with yourself.
Sure.
That comes through the visual, but also through the movement and the connection and the breath.
Yeah.
And I just find that that was one of the things I experienced too, and still do, and students do all the time is. You realize you can turn your head off like for a few seconds. And once you realize that, you can expand on that. Like, oh, if I can turn it off for a few seconds, maybe I can turn it off for a few more seconds.
Yeah,
And
and
maybe
just continue to build on that.
exactly.
Yeah, there's no better feeling when you're just in a yoga studio. You're relaxed, your mind is clear, you're not worrying about anything else. You feel that nice belly breath. So I know that feeling well. So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes you to another place, like you said. So that's awesome. Yeah, because I've actually read some research about like anxiety, depression, people who suffer with that, and they've done yoga for years and have seen those symptoms improve tremendously.
There's actually been a recent study. A woman at Harvard did a study of our kind of yoga, Bikram Yoga.
Yeah.
And so she actually studied depression. And so some people were assigned to talk therapy, some to medicine, and some to actually do Bikram Yoga.
Yeah.
And the yoga participants actually improved in some ways as much or more than the other parties.
That's
and this was a
amazing.
really, pretty fairly rigid as you can be with yoga scientific study.
Yeah.
So there's we feel it, but I think more and more there's more getting to be more people that are actually studying these things and a little bit more proof.
That's amazing. I love to hear that. So speaking of the type of yoga, Bikram yoga that you guys do at your studio, how does that differ from other types of yoga?
So it's a particular sequence. So it was originally called Bikram. We've all gotten away from the name there because of the association with the person that started it. But
Sure.
but the yoga itself is amazing. So it's 26 postures, 2 breathing exercises. So we call it now. It's called, can be like original hot yoga, or you might hear it called 26 and 2. Some people still call it Bikram, but it's the same sequence. And so it differs in some ways from other yogas that it is the same sequence of postures every single time.
Yeah.
You start and end, same sequence, same postures. It's also a little bit different in that it's in a really hot room.
Yes,
So
I've done hot yoga before. Yes, dripping sweat.
Yeah, people, say hot yoga can be, and that's a pretty broad term. It could be 94 in a hot yoga room. Our room is like 106, and it's about 35 to 40% humidity.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it is, it's really hot, and you get so you do get this amazing detox and this amazing sweat.
Sure.
And I think that it's interesting because the sequence being the same, part of that does let your head relax because you don't have to think about what's coming next. Like once you're familiar with the series, you don't have to think about it or really use your mind at all. Your body, you kind of get that body physical memory,
Sure.
and your body goes with it. And I think that's part of the meditation of it
Yeah,
all.
it's funny you say that because sometimes if I'll go into a studio and they're saying certain terms or poses you haven't heard before, you kind of have to turn your head, look up. It kind of throws you out of your groove. Like you were saying, you kind of know what's coming next. You can kind of just relax and kind of build on that every time you come in. So,
Yeah, you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So just to touch on how yoga can kind of change people's lives, we kind of touched on the mental, physical, your story. I was just wondering if you maybe had a story or two of like people who come into your studio and maybe change some things around. Obviously not names, things of that nature, but just something cool. Somebody who maybe had gone through something, maybe physical, mental, and it kind of turned their life around a little bit.
There's so many of
I
them.
figured as much. I figured as much, but maybe just one or something. Just
Yeah, like just recently, I've had 2 students. One younger woman, she's probably maybe 28, 30, and she was talking about how since she's been practicing when she goes to her annual doctor, gets her blood test, like her actual numbers are improving. We've had one student whose thyroid numbers have improved without medication. She was telling me the other day, like her blood pressure's better, all her values are better since she's been practicing. So there's part of the physical.
Sure.
And I had another student the other day tell me that he is now noticing more what is happening for him before he would have been aware of it before.
Yeah.
So he says, like I'm at work now and I can feel if I start getting anxious, like I could start feeling this tension rising. And he said, I didn't notice it before until it was too late. Like before he wouldn't really feel it until he was like on full on anxiety attack. And
late,
now
yeah.
he's like, I can feel it and I can also then do something about it. I can do my breathing and I can like calm it down. So those are, I think, just some of the ways or some of the things that we hear.
We have stories like that all the time because people live in so much pain. They're constantly in it that their body almost becomes numb to it. So they come in to see us, their back pain dissipates, and then they're almost more aware now because they feel so good. A slight pain that eases in that they normally probably wouldn't even have noticed prior to coming to see us, but they're just so in tune with their body now. And like you said, he caught that well before, was able to notice it, do something about it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing those. All right, so you were talking about how you became a yoga teacher a little bit. So I just kind of was wondering if you could break that down because it's not easy. I read you have to do about 200 hours of classes and training. So could you kind of go through those steps?